Well, we are officially into the draft here, making our way over on that end. Now, I'm not quite sure. Do they still lose the three bands here for the pull of John Anderson tonight?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So they is the regular jungler back here? Do we have him back in?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, it's gonna be 3 bans all night for CB Clockwork, but, they showed that they can play without him, so.
I mean, I'll give props to that Rumble. John
Mhm.
Anderson did a phenomenal job setting up for what was the map control as a whole, also responding to some of the pressure that was put on Revan very, very early on. So honestly, I'm very impressed. But either way, Clockwork still playing at that deficit. They don't have those three blands to work with on their side, and Burden taking full advantage of what they saw from last game. Their game plan has changed. Tristana's gone, Malphite's gone. The problem picks here from game one are the first to go.
Yeah, immediately taking away, this giant wombo unstoppable force. You saw that ultimate from Revenstorm ended the game, right? He got the
Right.
four-man knock-up, and the rest of the team just cleaned up. Forgotten Turtle's not gonna get that Tristana again, which he just demonstrated such a strong command for the lane.
No one should have the
Uh,
Tristana. I'm gonna be honest.
yeah, that's true. And I'm wondering if Thresh is going to be left open once again. Yeah, I mean Diana's the third ban, so possible first pick Thresh, but Dory K looks so comfortable. I think if it's open, they're just going to snag it.
Yeah, I honestly think it worked out extremely well for them. Supports Burden actually going to be taking the Rumble
Mm,
away from my apologies, Clockwork this time around. Don't want to let that slide through for John Anderson again. It looks like they might be playing it out in the jungle themselves. And granted, it works. It's in a strong spot right now. I'm curious to
mhm.
see if it plays out better in their hands. But the response immediately is what looks to be probably Revan's Storm on this Wukong.
Yeah, I mean, you could possibly see jungle or mid lane Wukong.
Right, but
Um,
I don't
Yeah,
know, man.
yeah.
That's kind of a stretch.
It feels very odd to early pick the top laner this
Right, because it opens
soon.
counter pick immediately here for support's burden.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is gonna be a Rumble jungle, or if, I mean, like, people have been playing it in the support role. It can be in a solo lane, so the Rumble can go anywhere. They're gonna possibly put Dorike or Forgotten Turtle on the Senna instead. It's played more support right now with the Grasp rune, and
Right.
you go the Frost got the Gauntlet mythic item. She just gets so tanky and still does a ton of damage.
Right. I don't know if I'll give credit to Dory where credit is due. I personally, though, would like to see the Senna work its way, in that
Hmm.
80 carry position. Supports Burn, though, with a response being the Riven for themselves, giving Kush exactly what he needs to possibly succeed here. They see that Wukong's picked out and they say, we're going to take the duel right off the bat here, knowing that we can't really be countered now. Granted, Wukong can still be flexed, but man, I'd be really surprised to see it anywhere else but top.
Yeah, I love it here. It's You have the option to do it.
Oh
You
my
might as well
gosh.
go for it. And here's the other pocket pick, right?
Uh,
They got two OTPs in the draft right now for support Jordan, and they took away the Rumble Jungle. Um, I don't like blinding Sona, but if you're gonna do it, Senna's an okay lane because there's not a ton of hard engage. Like she can try to throw a root at you, but you should be okay to scale on this lane because Senna also wants to just scale up. Um, Jester Hat feels comfortable to pull out his OTP.
Oh, and Clockwork with the response being this LeBlanc reminder that it was banned out in the first three bans here in the first draft. Notably, Supports Burn actually banned four mid laners.
Hmm.
So to see the LeBlanc slide through, that gives Clockwork hopefully another power pick on their side of the draft here. They are going for a very hard kind of dive heavy damage comp right now. You don't see much of a front being sustained out. Might become an issue later if you have someone from Burden who can really run down this back line.
Yeah, they made sure that they got Booty Bang and Billy, who played pretty well on that Echo, despite being so pinched. They got him a more comfortable champion. What I really like about the composition from Clockwork so far is they saw the Sona, and they already have a Wukong who's going to dive. The LeBlanc is
Right.
such a good assassin into the squishy support. Sona loves to scale. She loves to do a ton of AoE team fight sustain and kind of buffing up
Rip.
her teammates. But she is so squishy. She is the squishiest champion in this game. LeBlanc's going to have a field day isolating her out, using her mimic damage, just completely obliterating the Sona. Jester Hat needs to position perfectly to survive team fights. Otherwise, I see a lot of dead Sona in our future.
Well, hopefully she finds success where she needs to for this team. It is the one trick coming out here, and we'll see if it actually lives up to the potential that it's been based off of here for my friend Jester Hat. But I will say, Poppy being picked out here from Clockwork. Notably, you have seen that play into the jungle from time to time, but it could still be rotating towards that top side here. I still don't think either of those picks are too bad into the Riven, though.
Poppy would be amazing into Riven. It's a huge hard counter into Kush Marbles. I want to see the Poppy top lane. I think for the champions themselves, Wukong is better top and Poppy's better jungle in this instance. But
Right.
because of the Riven pick, give Revenstorm this Poppy. Please, Revenstorm into Riven. Kush Marbles, give me that matchup.
Well, supports Burden though on the other side of the bracket. They finalized their comp for this game. Vigar going to be running in that mid with the Jinx combo in the bot, giving them some real pressure to really enact into this back now.
Hmm. Ton of scaling from supports
Yeah.
burden,
Yes.
like the ultimate scaling comp. And if you remember last week in week 3, they picked Yi, they picked Vigar, they picked scaling all over the map. Kog'Maw, I think, as well, in the Vayne top lane. So this is them saying, okay, maybe we just need to go late game, and they got it. It's gonna be Seraphine picked up from Clockwork as the last pick, and honestly, this could be 80 or support Seraphines with the Senna kind of also swapping between those two
Right.
picks. Yeah.
Both kind of hovering around that one. I'm more inclined to believe that Dory's going to be pulling off on the Seraphine. Hopefully, it lives up to what was the Thresh last game. That
Mhm.
was really a key tool in initiating all of what made CB Clockwork a great combated opponent here. And personally, I don't think Seraphine is too much of a similar pace of play here. A lot more supportive. And while they do have the Encore to play around to start and kind of initialize some of these team fights, it's definitely akin to being used defensively at times, and that's something I don't want to see out of Clockwork. They're already on a good pace. Let's keep the aggression going.
Yeah, I am kind of intrigued and a little bit confused by Clockwork's um, changes in this draft. They won bot lane so hard, and that was the lane that we talked about pre game one that they needed to focus upon and abuse. Instead, this draft completely indicates that they are playing topside with the Wukong pick, the LeBlanc pick, and the solo lanes. And it's going to be a different style from Clockwork. They're not going to be dragon stacking. They're not going
Right.
to be diving bot lane and abusing those roams. Instead, it's a scaling bot lane for both sides, which I think benefits supports burden with a lot of scuffling in the top lane. I think early game here.
Well, I still will say top lane is our marquee matchup. We're still waiting to see Kush and Revan really pop off within to another. We do know, of course, that you have the potential for success, whether it be through Reknal or Forgotten Turtle or some of these other major carries. But still, a good pace of power here is definitely going to be back up there. Notably, of course, given the fact that Riven is now on the field and it's looking to possibly be Poppy Jungle Wukong top, which definitely plays into Burden's favor.
Yeah, this is good for them. I mean, the Poppy still is able to gank that Riven lane and also keep an eye on her in those team fights. The W AoE, which blocks any sort of dash, is only going to be used for Riven jump, right? She's the only champion on supports burden who has a dash ability, so it's going to be exclusively used to annoy and peel the Riven. Kush Marbles has a lot of focus on him. I think he was focused in the first game and made sure that he couldn't uh, develop into the mid and late game with any sort of gold lead, and they're going to continue to do that on the side of CB Clockwork.
Hey, hopefully it works out well for them. We saw it in game one and hopefully into game two. Supports Burden, on the other hand of things, I like what they've decided to come out here this time around. They're not so much on the pick comp like they were in game one. They definitely have something a bit more fight oriented. Granted,
Hmm.
it doesn't really have a consistency in terms of CC engage. You're missing that as a massive key component here. Like, how do they really their way into fights other than playing around some of the main ultimates, whether it be from Rumble, maybe that Sona getting the off chance on the. Other than that, Burden doesn't have a way to launch and find some of these backlines, especially given the fact that Clockwork once again has drawn a great number of people themselves.
Yeah, it's I think once again just going to be like can we scale and just do enough damage late game and hope that Kush Marbles carries us through this early and
Oh,
mid?
I don't know about
They
that.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I don't really see a way for them to dragon stack because you have a Sona lane and the bot lane. It's complete scaling. I don't see a way for them to abuse any sort of mid lane at all. Vigar is gonna be pushed in by LeBlanc. She's super slippery. It's hard to gank her, especially as a rumble. So the only way is if Vigar steps up early and drops a cage like level 2 almost, right? But it's hard
Yeah.
with a rumble jungle as well. So the mid lane's gonna be rough as well. Like I said, once again, just like we had predicted, it's going to be Kush versus Revan in the top lane. Like that's where the junglers are going to roam towards. Rekno, great, you can scale, right? Cook, great, you can scale. Jester, great, you can scale.
Let's go.
All of Tree Trunk's
Got it.
attention is going to be on Kush marbles. That's it.
Fair point, and that could be, like we've said, I will stem this conversation to a little point, kind of gonna play that Shell set up for Hickory at first set there. Where do you think First Blood's going to itself? I think we both top lane.
Yeah, I think it's if it's gonna be a gank, it's gonna happen top lane. Um, I'm gonna go a little bit different here though. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a solo kill. Ragno's dying to booty banging Billy, who has been feeling himself in game one.
So you actually Blood might find its way. What is the vol here? Or my
I'm s-
apologies, booty bang.
I'm sorry, Zephyr, I missed that one.
Ah, darn. You internet. I will looking for the first skill to come from LeBlanc on booty bang.
Okay. Yes, I'm calling the LeBlanc kill here. Yep.
As on my end, I'm the one for internet.
Yep. Zephyr is kind of winding down his internet. Hopefully, we get that back together here in a second. He's been Mr. Robotic over there. Um, I'm gonna just give you my final thoughts here. This is gonna be 2-0 CB Clockwork. They're not gonna let it scale into late game. Supports Burden wants to be able to get there. They keep Kush Marbles down once again. And my initial prediction of a 2-1 supports Burden is already wrong. It's gonna be CB Clockwork taking a 2-0 lead this game.
Well, we'll see if it leads up to that point. Maybe Support Burden wraps this one back around, or Clockwork continues to extend their lead here into the second game of this series. We're going to leave it up to the players, though, as they make their way towards the Rift. After us, we're going to be going towards a straight break. When we come back, you'll be joined by Hickory and Shells taking you away through the cast. Stick around, stay tuned.
What's up and welcome back, everybody. My name is Hickory with The Call, joining again by Sheltron for game number 2 between CB Clockwork and Sports Burden. The previous game we saw CB Clockwork with a pretty domineering win. Shell, we heard from the desk, but do you think that it's going to be 1-1 here?
Do I believe it's going to be 1-1 here? I do. First of all, I am not a fan at all of CB Clockwork's draft. I mean, Anderson Cooper out here making his presence known to Recknell. But I don't like the LeBron is a decent pick here, but the Poppy top with the Wukong jungle, I'm not a fan at all of Wukong jungle in the season 11 at all. Dory K taking him off of his Thresh to put him on Seraphine in a Senna lane. Yes, you do have the glacial augment, which does work really well with the drop the beat for Seraphine, but that synergy isn't going to be all that great when you're looking at a infinitely scaling Veigar, a hyper scaling Jinx, and then you have Rumble, who's already strong in the early game, and then Sana. These are not just this is a Sana in a Riven in lane. These are one trick ponies, disgusting one trick ponies, disgusting Sana mains that are going to be playing this game and playing it to perfection. This is extreme comfort for Jester Hat and Kush Marbles, and we already know Kush Marbles to be a very strong carry for this kind of Sports Burden. CB Clockwork has a comp that says, if we win with these champions, we are simply better, because we should not be winning with this comp into you guys.
I agree as well. It's a bit of a statement here coming from really high mechanically skilled, even more so than the Echo and of course the Rumble there for Anderson Cooper. And I also kind of wonder if it's again a little bit of a, well, we kind of maybe gotten a little bit of a hole here, wanting to have the Wukong and wanting to have the Poppy. But not really knowing exactly where to put the two of them at the same time. Like I said, I'm much more of a kind of a control mage in the mid lane, so I am happy with the Veigar, so to speak. But we'll see how the trades go from Booty Bang Bill. He impressed me on the Echo, I have to say. I didn't think it'd be as intense as it did end up being, and maybe just burst mages is his MO.
Yeah, I mean, look, so the Echo was a very good champion for him. Wasn't able to answer the call for the whole game, but it could be all right. It could be all right. My eyes aren't really on Booty Bang and Billy as a potential lose con, if you will, but like a questionable pick. I don't mind the LeBlanc here at all. My mind is really focusing on really that Wukong, that Poppy. The value you get isn't really all that great. Like the desk mentioned, the only dash you're worried about is Riven. So if you can't get that block onto Kush Marbles, you're not really doing all that much. Hold up, though.
Fighting in the mid lane and the jungle. Anderson Cooper on top of Tree Trunks. Storm not too far behind him. Flash out for Tree Trunks. Pretty easily done, actually, there. I think that was just kind of a 1-for-1. And the big trade in the mid lane was the reason that Regnal couldn't really get in anywhere.
So maybe it's just we're looking at one team with on insane comfort, but the other team, CB Clockwork, has been, dare I say, winning out so far in the early part of the game. Now, I'm not all that sure if Anderson Cooper plays a lot of Wukong. I look at his op.gg, didn't see a ton of Wukong there, but he's been playing it pretty well.
Yeah, so far pretty good. I mean, Rumble feels pretty awkward in these early stages, fighting the top lane as well. Storm in a little bit of danger here. The Steadfast Presence is still down. I think it should be up with the flash here from Kush Marbles. He's looking for it, and he does get the stun. No Steadfast Presence, and first blood well returned for Storm, even without the W up.
Yeah, no W up, and he does get the solo kill onto Kush Marbles, who I thought had him dead to rights with that last dash there, and the flash. But Kush Marbles might have to slow down a bit in this lane. Maybe Poppy is the move here. Maybe Poppy and this Wukong, who's out jungling Tree Trunk so far. And with this very great push into the bot lane for CB Clockwork, we are looking at a bit of not an invade here for Anderson Cooper. I was going to go ahead and take the Raptors away from Tree Trunks, but doesn't do that. Gets a ward down on the Raptors and backs out of there again. But with Dragon in 10 seconds, we may see a very quick Dragon stack come out of CB Clockwork.
Yeah, they do have the push here in the bot lane. Extreme importance for that Drake, as well as the push with Booty Bang and Billy in the mid lane. TP has been used by Recknell, and he's still pretty beat up, low on health, low on mana, but it doesn't exactly look Anderson Cooper is looking that way just yet. I would be with you on the early Drake for sure. Stun there for Revan Storm. Might be looking for a little bit more. And so I agree with you and Dunzy's opinion that the Poppy doesn't do a whole lot outside of this lane, but man, Riven feels really bad into Poppy. Steadfast presence is so strong, and you're right that it's one lane compared to an entire team. But hey, maybe if you get rid of the OTP Riven, you're not really worried about the rest of your lanes.
That's true. Look, when we talk about this whole thing throughout the pre-show and on the desk, this was going to be a series where we're looking dead at these top laners. Now, with the performance of Dory K on that Thresh last game, we had to rethink that a bit. But we came into this matchup focused on this top lane, and Revan Storm showing that, hey, if you pull out your OTP, then I can go ahead and counter that really quickly. No.
Oh yeah, I didn't really want to spill the beans. Poppy is a pretty hard counter to Riven currently. It's not a good look, especially when you blow the flash and give the first blood over.
Yeah, so I thought that that wasn't going to be a dive. I said, okay, Revan Storm is playing this very aggressively, but I did not think he'd actually dive Kush Marbles there. But, I mean, when you're a Poppy who did rush these plated steel caps, hold up.
It's a lot of damage. So he walks into the cage, though, gets the stun. Not sure if he has the kill just yet. Drop the ignite. He had the flash, but I think walking into the cage was a bit of a misplay there. Probably was a solo kill.
That could have been a solo kill right there, but what you do is you get the flash out of the Veigar, and now you know that if you are able the next time to get out of that, get away from that cage, you can secure a kill very, very quickly. Now, the ignite is down for Booty Banging Billy, but we've seen him play very, very aggressively, up 16 CS right now in the mid lane, able to shove this wave out most likely. I don't think Rekmal's going to lose any creeps, but I mean the big thing for me about this matchup between Booty Banging Billy and Rekmal and in the mid lane is that you decided to go with Comet as your keystone with Veigar into a LeBlanc. That makes no sense to me. You're gonna scale. I think you should just go ahead and this hard scale with Dark Harvest in this lane. I don't think that Comet is really the best keystone into a LeBlanc or really any other champ once you get out of lane.
That's an interesting point, and it's something I actually hadn't even noticed. I'm not a big fan of the comment now that you pointed out. We'll see if it kind of... maybe he was worried that this would happen, then he get really, really pushed out in lane. He's just trying to get any damage and farm that he can. We'll see how it goes. I mean, of course, the scaling is, literally infinite from Veigar, so it should ideally, average itself out later and later. Of course, the scaling from Forgotten Turtle is pretty infinite as well, just at 20 stacks right now. Just halfway to our first cash-in. Keep you kind of updated with that as we go further and further. And there's the Steadfast presence again. I mean, that is unfortunately what this lane really is. Of course, it helps that you've got a 2-level lead here for Revan Storm. But it doesn't feel good. Ooh, there is the dodge. Very well done. Booty Bangin should get the kill here pretty easily. Actually, he might be whiffing a little bit. He just needs his cooldowns and an auto attack, and there it is. Booty Bangin picks up a solo. Bolo in the mid lane. It might be another one in the top lane. Keeper's verdict to keep him out, but no Steadfast presence to drop the drop. And it does drop. Revan Storm with a solo Bolo in the top lane as well, but nothing in the mid. It's fine. It's fine. He flashes out.
Yeah, you're talking about solo bolos. I'm talking about we shilling because CB Clockwork in lane. I mean, these are solo kills. This isn't Anderson Cooper on the Wukong. It's very hard to have a very bad game on Wukong when your solo lanes are going absolutely nuts out here, getting kills. This Poppy is 3-0 right now. 3-0-0. No assists, no help from the jungle at all. This is a very, very, very oppressive lane for Kush Marbles, thinking, wait, this is the champ that I know the best. I have the most comfort on this pick. I should not be getting cooked in this lane by Revan Storm, but down 17 CS, you're not going to ever touch this Poppy, right? You already have the tabbies, and you have the Bomby Cinder coming out already. Look, you're never going to really be touching Revan Storm at all. You have to lose this lane graciously if you can, because at this point, Revan Storm is a monster, and he hasn't even gotten the attention from Anderson Cooper yet.
Reknal's in danger here. Anderson Cooper doesn't even need to look into his top lane at all. Actually, Reknal might be all right. No, Booty Bang Billy and the Encore. Well done. Root up and finalized onto Anderson. That's certain exactly why Booty Bangin took his shift back, but it's fine. He distorted back. I'm not certain exactly why. I feel like he would have had the kill. But it does go first kill there. Anderson Cooper, maybe he's just being altruistic to his jungler.
Yeah, it looked to me like Booty Bang and Billy definitely handed that kill, like donated the kill over to his jungler, which I don't understand. I think for the first 2 ganks in the first like 5-6 minutes, I think it's very important to, if you can, give your jungler some goals so you can get ahead. But at the 10-minute mark, and if you're Booty Bang and Billy on this LeBlanc, who already has solo kill potential, you go ahead and take that goal for yourself. Or I would even, Dory K was right there on the Seraphine. I say give even Seraphine that kill. That high note was right there. I think that almost any champ on the map other than Anderson Cooper was a good choice to donate that kill to.
Yeah, it was a little interesting. Could have been a bit of a misclick, you know, just mashing the W when you think the cooldown is back up. But, you know, no harm, no foul, except for the foul of Reknal getting caught out there for his second death of the game. And finally, Tree Trunks makes his way into the top lane. Instant flash out, and Keepers. What a great flash from Curse Marbles. Might be able to keep this going. Revenstorm, oh, there it is. Great W, great steal there from Revenstorm, and Booty Bang and Billy with his second solo kill in the mid lane. Reknal just respawned, and Tree Trunks trying to bail his top laner out, but it's just going spades for CB Clockwork so far.
Yes, and this is what they have to do. They're playing very aggressively and getting these wins in the solo lane, and it's very, very hard to infinitely scale. Hold up. No.
That was an animation buffer if I've ever seen one. It's fine.
Yeah, Revenstorm is going crazy, but look, it's very, very hard to infinitely scale and hyper scale and hyper carry if the game's over in 25 minutes. This is a very rough beginning of the game for Reknal and Cook. Cook isn't losing by any stretch of the imagination, but it's hard to scale up when your team is crumbling around you. And the game isn't over, but with a 4K gold lead in the first 12 minutes of the game, and no one can really touch this Poppy at all, and Booty Bang and Billy is going to be solo killing one of your main carries by himself. Just imagine the pick potential when you have Dory K putting the Encore out. How do you even get into these team fights? You're in a very, very rough position here if you are supports burden, and you may not have a chance to really scale because CB Clockwork might just go crazy way too early.
Yeah, the desk was worried about Booty Bang and Billy's LeBlanc pick into Jester Hat Sona. They were worried that it's just kind of a 100-0 potential, and I feel like with 2-0 on the board already, this is going to get easier and easier. The scaling is, of course, still there. As you mentioned, I mean, Cook is only about a wave and a half behind. Of course, he's got a couple plates as well, but he's really not getting smashed. You know, it's nothing like last game where Dory K just kind of handed kills over to Forgotten Throne. It's just a little bit behind in farm, a little behind in gold. And I think Tree Trunks is starting to recognize that, trying to get his bot lane going. Here's the TP from Revenstorm. Could be a bit of a 4v4. TP from Kush Marbles as well as the Rift Herald was dropped. I didn't even see it get picked up. I feel like they should just give this tower over, but Revenstorm does not want to give anything over. What a Cyclone, and the ultimatum on top. Cook actually does get a return kill, though. Revan was pretty far forward. There goes the shut down. A kill for Tree Trunks as well, and maybe a second one. Actually, things are going upside down as Reknal picks up his first kill of the game. 3-0. They got a little big for their britches on that dive. It's not over just yet. Yeah, it's over. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, I've seen plenty of throws in my day. I have never seen a team sprint it down so excellently, so excellently when they had all the advantages on the map. You had free reign to get the Drake. You had the Herald gonna get you some plates bot lane. Yes, you could have dove. I think the dive was a good idea, but the way it was executed with Revenstorm taking 4 tower shots before anyone really made a move was just a bad look, especially when you're diving Jester Hat on this Sauna. This was going to be even more just a desperate move right there. I think you get a pick, see what you can do, and then get out, take Dragon. You have 2 dragons stacked up, and now you put Supports Burden on a timer. Now they've bought themselves an extra 10 minutes before one of these teams gets to soul point potentially. This is not what you want to do at all. You have to understand that, yes, you can play aggressively if you are ahead, but if that play does fail, you're going to be in a pretty bad position because their team wants to scale up. If that dive doesn't work, then Recknell, Cook, and Jesterhat are smiling. They're rubbing their hands like, yes, we finally got some more time on our hands. We can make a move later in the game, and giving them what they want is not the way you come back from an 0-3 start in week 1 if you're CB Clockwork.
Yeah, it was a... Ooh, this could be a little scary here for Dory K. It might just be a bait, though. The exhaust and the root. Easy kill there. 3-0 for Booty Bangin'. A couple assists there for his bot lane as well. That was just a bait. 1-4 there for Recknell. Maybe we're getting a little bit too hopeful for support's Burden. They are still, of course, 5,000 gold behind. But you're right. I mean, we were looking at a 19-minute Dragon Soul point. I mean, that would be a 24-minute potential Dragon Soul. That is a clock that a Jinx and a Veigar cannot keep up with. It is just way too fast for them. And now it's slowed down a bit. I mean, if you kind of slow down these picks, like you were just saying, maybe we can see Cook catch up. You know, he's about 8,000 gold behind when 800 gold, excuse me, when he was about 1,500 behind. So he's closed about half of that gold lead, including the first Tower of Blood solo on Forgotten Turtle. So he's feeling okay now.
Nah, the guy who's 8,000 gold behind is Kush Marbles on this Riven, and a 3-man kill squad is coming up, but Tree Trunks is hiding in the Tribe Rush.
Pop the Equalizer, a little bit hopeful. Oh, the root does land onto Tree Trunks. Oh, Jester Hat takes control with the Crescendo. Double kill there, 3-0 for Tree Trunks. I don't think they had eyes on Jester Hat or Cook at all.
No, they did not. They get absolutely surprised right there. Booty Bangin' Billy, though.
Yeah, speaking of not having eyes on Booty Bangin' Billy, dodges everything, including the Everfrost. Should be an easy solo kill here yet again. Rampage there. And it's not looking good for the mid lane, but Tree Trunks is starting to pull ahead.
Yeah, Tree Trunks on this Rumble is getting stronger. Does have the Night Harvester already. Doesn't have Sork Pin boots yet. But once he gets those, he'll be even just more impressive coming through with these engages. And that's a bit of the issue with CB Clockwork. I feel like you see this a lot in solo queue. When you have a laner who gets so far ahead, they have a free lane, they're very strong early in the game. It gets to the head a little bit. They're like, okay, now I can move forward. Now I can just go for these 2v1s. Wait, I actually came through with the trade kill in 2v1. Let me see if I can just push the envelope even further. Can I limit test even farther? And it feels like CB Clockwork is opting into less than optimal engages and situations and paying the price for their hubris here. The game isn't over, right? It's still a 4K gold lead, and they can have such strong vision here in the bot side river with Dragon up in a minute, but they can't afford to have too many more of these aggressive plays go wrong.
Yeah. I mean, they are going to start closing out this gold lead. It's about 4,000 now. You're right, the game isn't over, although the fight in top lane might just be. Kush Marvel split the flash out. Very well timed, keeping himself alive for a little bit longer, but there's no flash there, and he is a full level down still. Invade here under the red buff. Not sure if it's really worth giving too much over. Oh, the fight again in the top lane, Storm. He has no flash, but you don't either. He's going to walk it out, and I think the red buff did go over to Anderson Cooper, so a win nonetheless there for CB Clockwork as damage on the tier 2 top.
Yeah, Anderson Cooper had to use the smite to get that red buff, but that is a smite well used there. Ooh, I think that was blind actually.
Could be another bait here. Recknell with the flash out, and Dory K not enough damage out of Cook. Ooh, but the equalizer might be. It is. Tree Trunks picks up his 4th.
The range on that equalizer is so disgusting, and he catches out Dory K. I mean, that was 2 ultimates to kill Seraphine, the support. That was, hold up.
That was about 2 abilities to kill Sona, the support. So, I mean, I think we're fine. Oh, the failed flash. Booty Bangin' might have to have some trouble here to distort out the incredible usage of his passive. The mirror image kept him alive there for a few more seconds. Bit of a hesitation there from Tree Trunks, who's now in a bit of trouble. Revenstorm is on top, and Revenstorm is actually not really that tanky. He has not a lot of MR, and the second kill there for Recknell, but it might be traded out for the Drake's flash forward. No, Anderson Cooper does win the 50-50. Tree Trunks might get the kill. The Cyclone keeping him alive just a little bit longer. I think that he might just be out. Whoa, the damage from Kush Marbles was almost enough, and everyone walks away. That was hectic, but I think it ends as a 1-for-1, so to speak.
That was the biggest coin flip I've ever seen. First of all, Storm just gives his life up over the wall to take on a 1v3, and then this team still stays. Hold up, Kush Marbles.
Oh, he's fine. He's just going back to his base.
Oh, well, if whatever gold Kush Marbles had in his pocket, he can go ahead and spend it. That is so nice of the side of CB Clockwork to escort him with a screen with a little bit less color on it back to the fountain. We'll have to see. Oh, they let him pick up a long sword. That's really nice of CB Clockwork. And it's so crazy to see how strong this team is because the macro is not there. The macro is so questionable for CB Clockwork. But the micro, the fights, they're winning these fights. They're winning these skirmishes, they're winning these 1v1s, and they're watching supports Burden walk into them time after time. And CB Clockwork should be down. Their lead should have been decimated by this point because the macro is so questionable. But they're very strong and comfortable on their champions, and they're getting these solo kills almost on cooldown. So if it works, I guess you may not have to fix it. This could be a 2-0 for the team with the much more questionable composition.
Yeah, speaking about questionable, Kushmar was a little bit too far forward here, but I think he'll walk it out. Dorike still kind of hunting. He does have the Encore. Checking in, by the way, with Forgotten Turtle. He's at 36 stacks, about to get that second cash. And the second one's pretty big. It's when you start feeling the range, start feeling the crit and the AD. And it'll be there in just a couple of minions. And it's only 21 minutes of the game, a fairly decent clip. Not the most insane, but, you know, I guess more like on average now that I kind of think about it. And actually, speaking of, 109 stacks there for Reknal, which is a little bit lower.
Yeah, it is. But this isn't, let's keep it real, though. This isn't a bad pace. Hold up. Dory.
No, he's fine. He's just getting TP'd on. Let's see if Reknal can find him.
Wow.
Ooh, the Super Mega Death Rocket, I think, was just not enough damage. I think it did connect. It's pretty low as Dory K, but he walks out with his life yet again. That's the second Super Mega Death Rocket that he's gotten smacked in the face with.
And yeah, neither one of those did kill him. Now I'm kind of confused as to what or whom Forgotten Turtle or Dory K used that Encore on, but I can't speak on it too much longer because Storm feeling froggy, and it looks like he's going to draw the attention of 4 members of Support's Burden to come to the top side of the map.
Sounds pretty good to me if the rest of your team can keep pushing out. We still got 2 minutes on our next Drake, our second Cloud Drake, which actually feels really good on the LeBlanc here. And probably also a couple other champions. Of course, Anderson Cooper with the Wukong will like the Cloud Drakes. And of course, Cloud Drakes and Cloud Souls are amazing on Riven if they can start getting things going. Not so amazing is this fight here, though. I think it's just a bit of a trade back and forth. I can't imagine either of them really have the damage. Oh, there's the equalizer, though. It's actually just a bait. The Vanguard will keep Revenant Storm alive for a little bit longer, but Tree Trunks does pick up the kill. Flash out is Reknal in bot lane. And that's about that.
That is about that. And speaking about that, I'm not quite sure why Revenant Storm flashed there. That was a secured kill from Tree Trunks, and Tree Trunks is strong now. He was very far behind early in the game, but he is still a Rumble. You have to respect that damage. And when you are split pushing, you have to respect the lack of vision. If you do not see members on the team, you have to assume that they're near you and coming to kill you if you can't see them, and respecting how much time you do and do not have to play around and try to trade with Kush Marbles on the Riven. You have to just know that, look, there's no purpose for me being here. Let me go ahead and back up. I pushed the wave, got my advantage here, and I can continue to get advantages other places.
An equalizer again, and the Super Mega Death Rocket as well, but just not enough damage. I think you're right. They weren't really in vision of anyone on the side of Support's Burden, and still kind of
Draggy?
let it go. Here comes the Encore. Speaking of out of vision, there goes the shutdown. It goes to Buddha Bang. First, the perfect person for it to go on to a ton of gold. About 200, I think, on the shutdown. Maybe a little bit more. Could be a Drake on top. And that's pretty much, I think, what CB Clockwork needed to really start getting through this mid-game.
Oh yeah, and I love what Anderson Cooper did there. I don't know if it was on purpose or he just wanted to get he was trying to get a kill onto Cook and just engage onto the 80 carry. But what he did was he got behind Tree Trunks and engaged onto Cook, and he extended that Encore from Dory K so that it hit 2 members of Support's Burden. Didn't get the secure kill out of Cook, but he does get both the heal and the flash, which are both very, very important. That's going to persist into potentially a push onto Baron if they are able to get another pick here. So a heads-up play from the sub jungler and Anderson Cooper for CB Clockwork, and CB Clockwork has the upper hand here. 3 dragons.
Yeah, they're trying to look for something in the bot lane here on Booty Bag and Billy. He's still pretty strong, though. So is Raven Storm.
Goodbye.
Gets rid of Tree Trunks, which is the majority of the damage. And Goodbye is right. I think that they're fine here in the bot lane. Probably need to walk it out. But it's all righty-ighty.
Alrighty-ighty is the perfect way to describe what the game state feels like for CB Clockwork. But let's not forget, even though Support Burden is down 5k gold, 5.5k gold technically, their comp still does scale. So if Sports Burden is able to get a kill here in the next, let's call it 3 to 4 minutes, and they're able to stop the dragon stacking of CB Clockwork, or if they're able to get a kill and maybe translate that into a Baron, they can buy themselves some time. Retinal on this Veigar does have 119 stacks of phenomenal evil power. We do know how Sana scales. She's already at level 10 right now. Working on that second item, and Tree Trunks is strong. We've seen just how disgusting that cooldown is on the Equalizer. It's very, very short, 46 seconds, level 14. So he's gonna be able to put that out maybe twice in one engage, but definitely every single fight there can be on the map, Tree Trunks will have Equalizer available for him. So this team doesn't just outright just completely lose fights. They don't lose every single fight they go into. They have strength, and they're only going to continue to scale. So if they're able to get a very good engage, they can turn this game around for themselves.
Yeah, it's also really important to point out that Cook is also still feeling quite fine. He's a couple hundred gold behind, but he's about 10 CS, even 15 CS lead. And I mean, a couple hundred gold behind when your team is really having a rough go of it in the top side and the mid side feels kind of fine there for the hyperscaling ADC. And of course, you mentioned Tree Trunks. He's got so much gold on them. Those Equalizers are going to get real scary. That I get what I'm trying to say, which was what you were trying to say, is that the game's not over just yet. It's just scary.
Oh yeah, it's definitely scary. One false move like this one potentially.
That could be a false move, but the on-guard doesn't go, but it is enough from Forgotten Turtle with the dawning shadow. Cook is really up a paddle without flash here. Anderson Cooper picks up his second of the game. Kush Marvel's with the flash on the Dory K, but Dory K has his own flash and walks it out, and it's a 2-for-0. Kush Marvel's actually still might be able to pick up this kill. No double roots. There is no way. It's okay. Dory K walks it out. He's still not dead. The Rectal probably is. He doesn't even hit the Frost Root, and he's going to have his 6th kill of the game. And the hopes that we were just trying to show up might have been dashed. 5k gold lead here, 27 minutes in the game. Baron on the table. Should be pretty easy pickup here with the heals from Forgotten Turtle and Dory K.
Yeah, this is what we call a false move. I said one false step and the game could be out of hand. Full time Support's Burden. And look, what Reckner was doing in the mid lane out is nowhere with his team in the vision was a pretty weird situation, but hold up here.
A bit of trouble here. The Equalizer did a lot of damage. Tree Trunks does pick that up, and they're going to have to bail off the Baron. Ooh, Cook's some really scary plays here, though, but actually the shutdown there onto Forgotten Turtle from Tree Trunks is trade kill. Kushmar was trying to get in here onto Anderson Cooper. He's a little bit too far forward. Booty banging. Billy flashing out. Can't really get the damage just yet. Ravenstorm kind of low. Ooh, super Death Rocket. It goes wide, and a bit of a misstep here. They were standing on a ward that entire time, just waiting for Tree Trunks to drop the Equalizer on top. Of course, won't be a Baron there for the side of Support's Burden, but they stop what was a pretty guaranteed Baron from CB Clockwork.
And what really saved them there was that CB Clockwork's comp doesn't do a ton of damage. You just look at all the members, there's not a real ton of like DPS that burns the Baron here from anyone. I don't think there's even, the Kraken Slayer is a decent item, but Sin is not known for her attack speed. Yeah, there's not a lot of damage that this Giga burns that objective. So Sports Burden was able to come back there and make a move, and that really does buy them some time. That buys them time by denying that Baron. They get a little bit more gold in their pocket. Yes, you do kill the Sinner. That's not a very high bounty for the Rumble, but it does buy you some time, and now you can set up for this Dragon. This will be potential soul for CB Clockwork.
Soul is on the cards here. Tree Trunks does have the equalizer. I'm not certain he's aware that they're on it just yet. As he's getting the red, it could just go down. TP here from Raven Storm. Where's the equalizer? He doesn't. He's just not aware of it, and the Dragon Soul goes for free to CB Clockwork.
I guess the side of Support's Burden just says Cloud Drakes aren't that important. The soul isn't that important. But what is important is that each one of those Cloud Dragons gives them 10% of ability haste. Actually, it's 12 ability haste for their ultimates. And these are all very good ultimates, maybe minus the LeBlanc, honestly, but these are all very strong ultimates, especially for Dory K. You're not going to have a very fun time going into 36 more haste on ultimates from the side of CB Clockwork.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I also think that the 10% move speed is often forgotten. You're actually get quite quick with the move speed. Plus, of course, like, the Rift itself. That, like, what's the scariest thing about Equalizer? Getting away from it. The faster you can move, the easier it is. And I do think that Boonu Bang and Billy will like the Cloud Soul quite a bit. Flash out from Reknal. He's not level 16 yet. It's only about a 27-second cooldown on his ultimate. That Mimic will get real fast. And you start layering a lot into team fights. But the game is surprisingly slowed down.
It has slowed down, and I think that is less to do with Support Burden, what they're doing on the map, and more so because of the missteps that we've seen CB Clockwork. There's some shot calls that haven't been all that great, but the thing is, their comp is so strong, their champs are so strong that they can make up for any mistakes they have, and
Yeah, speaking of a strong comp, Tree Trunks. Oh, a little bit early there on the Encore. I don't think it's going to really matter. Well, Cook is behind them somehow and picks up a kill. Actually, Reknal is the one who picks up the kill on the Dory K. Great shot there from Forgotten Turtle. Snipe from downtown will give him his third of the game, a 10-2 total KDA. Feeling pretty comfortable on this Sentinel. Let's check in once again. He's at 66 stacks, so he's really going to start smacking, especially the towers from long range, and that is going to be the Baron for sure.
And we do have 3 items on Forgotten Turtle, that Kraken, the Collector, and that RFC. So he's going to be, like you said, he's going to be really smacking, pumping out that damage, and doing a lot. But this Baron's going to go down without any sort of attempt to contest it. And this is probably going to be the death march here for CB Clockwork. They have a very strong comp that can push these waves. You could just really go 5-man, just run down mid and say, look, fight us right now or else. There's nothing to do. There's no objective on the map. We win in skirmishes. We win in full 5v5s. How do you want it? We can bring it to your front door. And this is gonna be I think a pretty solid win for CB Clockwork if they do not give it over to Sports Burden with another misstep, which has been the case in a few of these lull periods we've had in the game.
Yeah, it has happened a couple times where they get a little bit too big, maybe get picked off, or just not exactly paying attention to their vision control. It looks like they're a little bit more aware of where eyes are for Supports Burden right now, perhaps because of the mistake or two. But I agree. I mean, I feel like a 5-man Nayram kind of down mid would feel pretty good here, but they decided to go with the 1-3-1 with Booty Biggin being the float here. I'm not certain it's exactly the right idea, but we'll see how it goes. Of course, they have a huge gold lead, and maybe just smacking them with your wallets could be it. Forgotten Turtle in a bit of trouble here, but he's all right. Whoa, there goes a charm from kind of out of nowhere. Did not think Dory K had it. The Cyclone deep downtown is Anderson Cooper. Kush Marbles does pick up a kill on Dory K, but Forgotten Turtle is still basically full health. Jester Hat with the great crescendo will actually just rip Forgotten Turtle apart. Top tier 2 does go down in a bit of a wonky fight there, opted into by CB Clockwork themselves.
Yeah, that's the macro we talked about a couple of times with CB Clockwork. They're very, very strong, right? They're extremely strong. the mental, the macro on the shot calling is a bit questionable because we've said it before. Supports burden, they like to scale. Their comp isn't weak. Like CB Clockwork is very strong, but supports burden is not weak. They're very far behind, but they can still win a fight if they need to. And Revenstorm.
Yeah, he's in complete trouble here. Tree Trunk's way behind him. I don't think he even walks this out. He did go for the flash. Oh,
Wait.
that's the Cloud Soul, baby.
Mm-hmm. Well, Cloud Soul, use your flash, and you do use the Keeper's Verdict, and that move speed just pumps you up out of there. You get back, and you actually TP to the bottom side.
Yeah, Bang Billy picks up a solo kill in the top lane, might even turn it into a double Revenstorm. Maybe a bit too big for his britches, but his mid laner is just going in the top side of the map. Tree Trunks will almost definitely die here. I don't think he has Equalizer. There's not really a whole lot he can do.
No.
And that was basically a 2v1 that Booty Bang and Billy just kind of ripped his way through. 30 seconds on the Drake, and Revenstorm will not be up for it exactly, but he should be able to walk his way down. Surprisingly weak Baron power play, though.
Yeah, a very weak Baron power play, and that's mostly because of that mid lane play. I think you should just let Revenstorm push to that tier 2 and that inhibitor turret, and then make Sports Burden make a decision, because look, you can either answer this Poppy in the top side or let us take the mid wave. They kind of got a little bit too aggressive where it was a 4v4 that wasn't exactly 100% in their favor. But I mean, the play still works. The game is still very heavily in their favor. They're not really losing out. They're not really getting super punished. Yes, they may die and see a gray screen, but as far as the map state, as far as any real punishment where they lose out on an objective, it's not going to happen.
Oh, that did land, and Cook's going to have to commit the flash. I think Buddha Bang will just kind of walk it out, but that was a little rough. I did not think the ethereal chains are going to hit, and both Flash and Heal are down with the Elder Drake on CB Clockwork. You mentioned the Death March a few moments ago. I think this really has to be it. I feel like Booty Bang and Billy can really just one-shot anyone. He's the only level 18 in the entire game, 3 levels higher than Cook here, 5 levels higher than Jester Hat, and I feel like if anyone walks even near him, they're just going to get popped.
He has 18 books stacked on top of each other. A very, very good read, a very painful read for some people when on Wreckful. Oh.
Forgotten Turtle is well forgotten. The Cyclone in the way back by the great Encore will return the fight. There is that Eldrick, and there is Booty Bang in the way back of the fight. He's down in the tower, but it doesn't really matter. Anderson Cooper looking for Recnal here. So is Revenstorm back on to the double kill there for Booty Bang. And is it the triple? I think it is. And I think it's the game as well. They traded out Forgotten Turtle with, well, a little bit of a cheeky play from Recnal. That will be the game finally at 37 and 30 or so once we actually get to it. But a perfect game coming out of Booty Bang and Billy. 17 KDA, pretty monstrous performance here after what was a good but not insane Echo play just before.
Yeah, he played extraordinarily well on this LeBlanc into a Veigar. Like you mentioned, 13-0-4, 25 stacks on the Medjais. That was a very strong display out of the LeBlanc. And this was, keep in mind, a composition that we had a lot of questions about. The Poppy top, the Wukong jungle, which has not been meta in at least a year and a half. Cinna, Seraphine, bot lane, I know the desk, and even we had some questions about whether or not Seraphine was the answer in the bot lane, especially after seeing how strong we were looking at Dory K with his Thresh in game number 1. But it just goes to show you, if you can just hard win lane, I guess you can just win game, because we saw Revenstorm and Booty Bang and Billy have this amazing and very aggressive laning periods with almost no real interaction from Anderson Cooper, and that just parlayed itself into objectives and eventually the game.
Well, we'll have to see if there is anything that we missed. I think it was a really good breakdown there, Shellatron. Bit of a jungle diff, maybe. I don't know. I think it was really Billy in the mid lane that was kind of making things look pretty nasty. Dunzy, Zephyr, take it away.
Thank you, Hickory. You know what, Dunzy? I'll say it again. I feel like this game was pulled together in draft, and due to some of the messiness from Clockwork, we didn't see it actually come to its climax until much later than expected, right? I still think from the get go, Revan wins that lane against Kush Marbles any day of the week. A Poppy into my apologies, a Riven, it's a guarantee, right? You pull Booty Bang and Billy onto one of his primary heavy AP assassin champions that slides through draft, and no slight there, find success in the Reknal, right? And a series of mistakes that play off of a little bit of over aggression, maybe some ego, extends this win out to a much longer pace for Clockwork.
You absolutely called it right. I think that Wukong pick R1 was just a beautiful draft decision. They knew exactly what they were doing. They wanted to bait um, Support's Burden into taking Kush Marbles' OTP on that Riven, give him a little bit of a comfortability, make sure that he feels like he can do this, and then that Poppy coming in, man, was that brutal. It was just they didn't even ban top laners at that point because Poppy was picked in the second rotation.
Yep.
That swap was so massive. It swung the entire draft. And I mean, you saw it in lane. There was a little bit of overconfidence from the side of CB Clockwork during that game after they had a massive gold lead. But the game was decided in draft and in lane by the players.
Absolutely. Personally, I think Clockwork has done a phenomenal job. We have to remember right now that these guys are playing without 3 bans in first rotation. That should put anyone at a deficit to begin with, because you know you're giving away some of these hot picks to the enemy.
Mhm.
But they're taking that concept and turning it on its head. Some people actually feel like without the bans, they play better because they know what the enemy's going to pick. You brought up perfectly Kush, the bait with the Wukong to pull that ribbon into the top for Kush. They wanted that from the get-go because they immediately knew that they were playing into what, is going to be these one-trick ponies who are playing some of their, more particular picks that usually get banned out, right?
Mhm.
So they say, how do we counter these picks? Because we obviously know that if they're left open, they're gonna go for them. So let's draft our comp based around that, not against anything else. So the Wukong into Slight, the Seraphine in the response in that bot lane, the LeBlanc setup, given the subject of bans from supports burn to begin with, and that Rumble pick really threw in a bit of a wrench because it, it stemmed away the jungle pick, which could have
Mhm.
been something that actually elevated the potential here for supports burden. I think Rumble's really strong right now, but in comparison to what we saw on John Anderson, it wasn't as strong.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about the precision that CB Clockwork navigated this draft at such a high level. You look at the flip side, supports Bird, and you kind of touched on it. This Rumble B1, they might have baited themselves into it, right?
Right.
They were kind of all out of sorts. They completely abandoned this mid lane focus on Billy Bang or Booty Bang and Billy.
Came back to bind
And
them.
yeah, exactly. Like the 4 mid lane bans gone. Now all of a sudden he gets a champion that he is comfortable on, that LeBlanc, in a plus matchup no less, which you gave him because you picked the Vigar into the LeBlanc here. It was just such a rough draft from supports burden all around. The Rumble just did not pan out. The Sona, they felt like they had to pick those two OTPs in the first rotation so they wouldn't get banned out. Man, it supports burden needs to find an identity in the draft in game 3 and come back to salvage the series.
I will say it starts in draft, but at the end of the day, this team isn't perfect though, right? Clockwork is still facing some general issues across the board. Yes, they won the lane to lane matchup and found success, whether it be through Revan or Booty Banging Billy. But in terms of pacing, granted, we can always just bring it back to saying, well, they wanted to finish it out safely. But honestly, there were a lot of times, you saw them have that 6 kill lead. They dropped 2 kills in the bot lane to a utterly just incorrect dive, no purpose for it ever happening the way it did. And as a result, you see this flow constantly stemmed back towards the way of burden. And as a result, this team just kept hanging on for longer and longer than, what was supposed to.
Yeah. It was a rough game for supports burden. I do want to kind of touch on the rest of the league right now.
Sure.
We officially have no more undefeated teams. Lotus White and Zenigma both traded 1-for-1 so far in the first 2 games. So Lotus White drops down to 4-1 right now. Redacted and Hawkthorn, who are both coming in at 3-0, have traded the first 2 games as well. You got 4-1 teams right now at the top of the standings, with Zenigma right behind at 3-2. I'm already seeing a race at the top here.
Absolutely. Those teams, Enigma, Lotus, Hawkthorn, Redacted, definitely competing for that first position there. Notably, like you said, Enigma pulling that win off of Lotus White. That really changes the perspective of this team because in a lot of our heads, I know you guys haven't seen yet, but we do have some standings behind the scenes that we've been working on. Lotus White hold a high position as well as Hawkthorn, and both of them have faced some heavy losses tonight. That being said, on the other side of the bracket, you've got Divine Ascension Sapphire picking up dose wins here against Degenerate Ascension, putting them even further at the bottom of the standings here for Light League, as well as Classic Esports and Cape Dogs actually bringing it to a 1-1 as well. Cape Dogs actually finding their first victory of the season tonight against Classic Esports.
Yeah.
Can't be more proud.
I'm happy for the little brothers down there. Cape Dogs pulling out a win right now. I am very excited to see if this is the real Clockwork. They went 0-3 in week 1. They've completely changed their draft strategy, their strong side of the map, what they want to do. Yeah, like this is a different CB Clockwork team that we have in right now. And it could be a new jungler who they add